Samsaradava nalaliraloka Tranaya karuna guna gunatvam Praptasya kayana gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam Mahaprabhu ki Tananitya Gita Vaditra Madhyan Manasorasena Romancha Kampa Shutaranga Vajyo Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingarathan Mandiramarjanado Yuktasya bhaktam saniyanjatapi Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasada Swadana Triptan Harivaksha Sangram Kritraiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam Shri Radhika Madhava Yorabhara Madhurya Leela Gunarupanam Pratikshanasvadanalolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam Nikunjayo no Ratikeli Siddhai Yayali Vir Yukti Rapekshaniya Tatrati Daksharati Vallabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinam साक्षादारित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भायतैव सारी किन्तु प्रभोर्या प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसाद भगवत्प्रसाद यस्य प्रसाद न गति कुतोऽपि जयन्तु वां तस्याय सत्रिसाद्यं वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद चैतन्य Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Prachanda Vrinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Charles DBT founder Charles Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Brahman Saprajaka Acharya Ashtota Shatashi Srimati Vangris Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridasa Ki Jai. Premisako Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Gorodam Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dam Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dam Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dam Ki Jai. Shri Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samavita Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Gaura Pramanande. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlad Daine Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shilatankanakalae Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha Bahe Narsimha Hiraday Narsimha Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade Tava Kara Kamalavare Nagam Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare जयो प्रहलाद महाराज, जयो प्रहलाद महाराज, जयो प्रहलाद महाराज, जयो प्रहलाद महाराज। जयो जयो प्रभुपाद, 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 जयो जयो प्रभुपाद। निताय गौरा हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल। हरि बोल। नरसिंहदेव की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवसचा विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवसचा विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवसचा विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः।
वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
ब्रह्मास्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मास्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे तानि पापानि ब्रह्मास्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मास्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे यानि च पापानि ब्रह्मास्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय वृंदाय तुलसी देव्यै प्रियाय केशवशजा विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्यै प्रियाय केशवशजा विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः
वृंदाय तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवशजा विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः
वृंदादेव तुलसीदेव महारानी की जय
Oh, Tulasi, beloved of Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My to Shiva and down the town. Thus within my vision I shall always behold the beautiful pastime of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kaho Danso's virtue. Please give me the privileged devotional service and make me your own maidservant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always swim in the love of Shri Radha and Govinda. Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Baba Maha Davagni Nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chantrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnarmita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakadi Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durudevami Disham Iha Janina Nurakaha Trinatapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manatena Kirtanya Sadahalihi Nathanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagati Shakamaye Mama Jammani Jamanishvare Bhavata Bhaktir Haituki Toi Ayinanta Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mang Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthitaduri Satesham Vichintaya Nayanam Karata Shrutaraya Vatanam Katkata Rudaya Gira Pulakain Chitam Vapur Kata Tava Nama Kahane Bhavishati Yugaitam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravisha Itam Shunya Itam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Ashrishava Padratam Pinnastumam Adarsanam Marmahatam Karotuva Yatha Tatha Va Vitatatu Lampato Matprananatha Susa Eva Naparaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads a rays and banishing moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone grants all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharjananda, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, while my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant the holy name, while my voice choke up, and while the hair on my body stand on end at the recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling of separation, I am considered a moment to be like a millennium. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme devotees who have dedicated their life for the propagation of holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to independent of the names of Lord Vishnu. 3. To dissipate the order of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or the literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as a fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glory of holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting holy names and to maintain material attachments even understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who connects to Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just as desire trees and can fulfill the desire of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Mangala Charnam prayers ki jai. Om Jnana Timirindasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapandantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pachata Desha Tarini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Jala Premadya Shri Rupa Nuka Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karana Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuka Virudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gorakishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Mutaye Viparamba Rasambode Padam Bojete Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumistvam Nirdeshta Sajana Priya Vaishnava Savabhoma Shri Jaganathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpa Durubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Pyevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakham Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jatam Sroto Pangor Mamamanda Materkati Masarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyat Vindaranya Kalpaju Madha Shimara Nagara Singhasanasto Shimaradha Shira Govinda Devo Prishthariti Seva Manos Marami Shimara Sarasarampi Vamsi Vata Tatastitaha Karsham Venu Soner Gopir Gopinath Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shate Tagatha Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Did we finish Brahma Samhita? Is that where we are? In Brahma Samhita. Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Nadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamini Prakadasatmaskalpa Riksha Lakshagritesha Surabhira Vipaliyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambram Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Benam Kwanantam Aravinda Dalaytaksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasatvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Shamam Jivanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vikrahasya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adhyam Purana Purisham Navayuvanam Cha Vedesa Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsala Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manasomani Pungamanam Sopyastiyat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tatre Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chayatam Jagananda Kotim Yaschakti Rasti Jagananda Chaya Yadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rastam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Daiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanyanabusa Suktar Yamevi Nikama Pratita Subanti Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananta Jinmaya Rasapati Bhavita Bhistabir Ya Evani Chirupataya Kalabi Goloka Evani Vasata Kilatma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pramanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Hidesa Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Chintya Guran Swarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Meditistan Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramampumamyo Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Bhavato Jagananda Koti Koti Svasesa Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahman Eskalamananta Masesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Jai Gunyatad Visai Veda Vitayamanam Sadvavalambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Matayamana Suya Praninam Patifalam Smaratam Ubedya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasram Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tali Chitasya Devi Maheswari Dama Sute Sutesya Tete Prabhava Nichaya Sutestam Vitastayena Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Shastistate Pralaya Sadhava Saktireka Shaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichani Rupam Abhyasya Chitestate Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Kshiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Naitata Pritakasti Hetu Yasam Bhutam Samapaiti Karyat Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Departarevhita Santaram Abhyapetya Dipayate Vivite Samanu Dharma Yastadrike Hicha Vishnutaya Vibhati Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yakarna Narla Vajali Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidramananta Jaganada Sarvamakupa Adhara Saktim Avalambya Paramsma Murtim Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kalamata Avalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahansa Yasikalabi Seso Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Dasman Yatasma Sakalesana Jesa Teja Suyam Kiyat Prakatayata Pritat Pratatra Brahmaya Isa Jagadana Vidanu Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dvande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihantam Alamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Marudisasya Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Amcha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yaschaksuresa Savitasa Galagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Dharmo Tapapa Nichaya Sutayastapamsi Brahmadi Kita Patakavati Astajiva Yadata Matra Vipava Prakata Prabhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yastrinda Gopa Matavendram Hoswakarma Bandhanu Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdati Kinchitu Bhakti Bhaja Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yam Krodha Kama Saja Pranayadi Bhiti Vatsalya Moha Guru Guru Vasavya Bhava Sanchintya Tasya Sadvisim Tanamapurite Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purisha Kalpataravo Drumabhumi Chintamani Ganama Hitoyam Amritam Kata Ganam Natyam Gamanam Abhivamsi Priyasaki Chirinandam Jyoti Param Abhitata Swatyam Apicha Sayatra Shira Dibhi Sravadi Sirabi Vyasta Sumahan Nimesar Dakyo Vavrajitin Hayatra Bisamaya Bhajay Swita Dvipam Tamaham Iho Golokam Itiyam Vidantas Teksan Takshiti Virachara Kati Haye Shri Guru Vastaka Prayers Ki Jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy. Just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master is an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing, singing, and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna four kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasadi, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastime of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tastes and arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master as a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Datar tad asmin bhava isha jivas. I'm sorry, Canto 3, Chapter 5, verse, or text number 40. Datar yadasmin bhava isha jivas. Tapa chayen abhihata nasarma. Atman labante bhagavam stavangri. Chichayam savidyam ata ashrayima. Chichayam savidyam ata ashrayima. Data, O Father, yet, because, asmin, in this, bhave, material world, Isha, O Lord, Jiva, the living entities, Tapa, miseries, Trayena, by the three, Abhihata, always embarrassed, Na, never, Sharma, in happiness, Atman, self, Labante, do gain, Bhagavan, O personality Godhead, Tava, your, Angri Chayam, shade of your feet, Savidyam, full of knowledge, Ata, obtain, Asrayam, Asrayema, shelter. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O Father, O Lord, O personality of Godhead, the living entities in the material world can never have any happiness because they are overwhelmed by the three kinds of miseries. Therefore, they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also thus take shelter of them. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The way of devotional service is neither sentimental nor mundane. It is the path of reality by which the living entity can attain the transcendental happiness of being freed from the three kinds of material miseries. Miseries arising from the body and mind, from other living entities, and from natural disturbances. Everyone who is conditioned by material existence, whether he be a man or a beast or demigod or bird, must suffer from adhyatmika, bodily or mental pains, adhibhotika, pains, those offered by living creatures, and adhidaivika, pains, those due to supernatural disturbances. His happiness is nothing but a hard struggle to get free from the miseries of conditional life. But there is only one way he can be rescued, and that is by accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The argument that unless one has proper knowledge, one cannot be freed from material miseries is undoubtedly true. But because the lotus feet of the Lord are full of transcendental knowledge, acceptance of His lotus feet completes that necessity. We have already discussed this point in the first canto 1.2.7. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Gyanayat Suvaira Gyanam Chayadahaitukam. There is no want of knowledge in the devotional service of Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. He, the Lord, personally takes charge of dissipating the darkness of ignorance from the heart of a devotee. He confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham satstayuktanam prachitam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayanti te. Empiric philosophical speculation cannot give one relief from the threefold miseries of material existence. Simply to endeavor for knowledge without devoting oneself to the Lord is a waste of valuable time. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Father, O Lord, O Personality of Godhead, the living entities in the material world can never have any happiness because they are overwhelmed by the three kinds of miseries. Therefore, they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also thus take shelter of them. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Well, there are two very important verses in the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, verses 6 and 7. And Prabhupada says, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo Yata Bhaktir Hoksite Haituki Pratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. Well, what does that mean? It says that the supreme occupational duty of the living entity, or Dharma, and for all humanity, is to attain loving devotional service for the Transcendental Lord, and such devotion must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. It's a very important verse. It's explaining what the real goal of life is. The real goal of life is to completely surrender to Krishna through loving devotional service. And if we do that, then Krishna not only protects us, but he gives us the knowledge by which we can come to him. So that's the solution to all problems of life. And then it says, Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Ganyat Yasavairagam Gyanam Chayad Haitakam. That is, that Krishna will endow his devotee with transcendental knowledge and also renunciation and also knowledge. So one does not have to endeavor separately. One simply has to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord and say, "O Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are what I understand. You are the way and the means to understand what the purpose of life is. I'm completely surrendering myself to you. I have complete confidence that you will protect me and that you will always guide me on the right path as long as I am still engaged, or as long as I'm engaged in your devotional service through the instructions of bona fide gurus." So this is a certainty. This is real. This is the path of eternal happiness. So, again, there are certain things that are impossible to achieve. And one of them is mentioned here in the purport, where it says, Prabhupada says, the way of devotional service is neither sentimental nor mundane. It is the path of reality, by which the living entity can attain the transcendental happiness of being freed from the three kinds of material miseries. Miseries arising from the body and mind, from other living entities, and from natural disturbances. Everyone who is conditioned by material existence, whether he be man or beast or demigod or bird, must suffer adhyatmika, bodily or mental pains, adhibhotika, pains, those suffered by other living entities, and adhidaivika, pains, those due to supernatural disturbances. His happiness is nothing but a hard struggle to get free from the miseries of conditional life. But there is only one way he can be rescued, and that is by accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So that's a very definite, clear, emphatic statement. In other words, unless we accept the lotus feet of the Lord and surrender to the Lord, we'll never actually be happy in the material world. That type of happiness cannot be achieved simply by mundane speculation or science or logic and reason. It's not going to happen. We'll always be troubled by these three types of miseries: miseries of this body and mind, miseries caused by other bodies, and miseries caused by what you call supernatural disturbances. So here we see people are trying to do something, achieve something that's impossible. What is that? They try to be happy by ignoring Krishna and just engaging in sense gratification. It's an impossible thing. Of course, they might have little, like say, periods where they think they're happy, but that struggle for existence is unending in life. That's the nature of the material world and the influences on the material body. So as long as we identify with the body, we're going to be harassed by the three types of miseries, as well as time, as well as illusion and envy and lust. All these things are going to stop us from attaining this goal of becoming continually happy. So, therefore, this Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jnanayat Yasavairakam Jnanam Chayat Haitakam says that by taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through Bhakti Yoga, or surrendering to the lotus feet of the Lord and offering loving devotion to the Lord, one develops naturally, without any extraneous effort, knowledge and renunciation. So if we're following the rules and regulations and that is chanting our rounds properly and attentively and hearing regularly Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, eating only prasadam, and regularly coming to the temple, associating with devotees, and humbly offering service, then we can become purified by that lifestyle. And then Krishna reveals to us this transcendental knowledge. So there's two necessary conditions. That is, haituki in a pratihata. So, savai pumsa parodamo yata bhakti hoksite. Haituki pratihata yayat masu prasiddhi. So, haituki means that your service should be unmotivated or causeless. It should not have a personal agenda. What are those personal agendas? That is, you're suffering, you want relief for the suffering, or you want to have riches, or you're just curious, or you want to know what the absolute truth is. Well, that's the most valid reason why we come to Krishna. But the first three, they're definitely material motives. The fourth one, you genuinely want to know who is Krishna and you want to surrender to him. That is much purer than the first three. There's still some purpose, but it's a very good purpose. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says that it validates this point in the fourth chapter. Let's see where it says that. There are four kinds of people that come to the Lord. Chaturvidha bhajante mam, jana sukatina rijana, arta arti. I think that's 15 or 14. Which verse is that? Arta arti. Where is it? Verse 4th chapter, verse number 14. Anyway, 4 types of people come to the Lord. The 7th chapter. Yeah, 7th chapter. Sorry. 7th chapter. Arta Aarti. Yeah. 7th chapter, 16th verse. Arto Artarti. Arto Jigyasu Artarti Gyanicha Bharatarsava. Yeah. So, it says that 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. Well, the next verse reveals, the next 2 verses reveals the one that is the most, let's say, sincere. And tesam gyani nityukto ekabhaktir visishyate gyani priyo hi gyani notyartam aham Satchamamapriya. Of these 4 types, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. And then it says, Udara sarva evaite gyani tvatmaiva mevatam astita sahiyukta mam evan utamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self, being engaged in my transcendental service. He is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Okay, now, in the verse today, it's saying, therefore they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also thus take shelter of them. So the demigods are saying, if you surrender at the lotus feet of Krishna, then you will have, as he says, you will have all knowledge and you will develop this loving devotion for the Lord. So that is the formula. Sharanam, surrendering oneself to the Lord through the instructions of the acharyas, and especially by accepting bona fide guru. So this is also emphasized in other places in Bhagavad Gita. This the process of saranam is anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, rakshishya siti visvaso, gotritve varanam tata atmanikshepa karpanye tadvida sadvida saranagati. So the process of surrendering to the lotus feet of the Lord is 6 points. Number 1, accepting everything favorable for the service of the Lord, rejecting everything unfavorable, accepting only Krishna as one's protector, and goptrite varanam tata means that not having any interest other than devotional service. So that is the same thing as when it says ahaitukiya pratihata. Ahaituki means you have no other, you're unmotivated. You have no other purpose other than to serve the Lord. Ahaituki apratihata, and there's no interruption in your service. There's no vacations or things like that. Everything you do is always connected to Krishna. So that is the sign of that someone actually loves the Lord and is serving the Lord with loving devotion. And then, of course, Atmaniksepa, always being humble and meek in devotional service and depending completely on the mercy of Krishna. So this process of saranam, or surrendering to the lotus feet of the Lord, this is recommended by the demigods. So the demigods are speaking the truth here. And they're saying that, therefore, one should take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also thus take shelter of them. So this is all interesting information by which we can easily become Krishna conscious. But when we say no interruption and no material purpose, that requires, it looks like that's a difficult thing to do. It's only difficult if we're contaminated by the desire of sense gratification. If we can purify that contamination, then it becomes actually easy, because everything in Krishna consciousness is full of happiness and ecstasy. The chanting, the dancing, the feasting, the sankirtan, the hearing, transcendental uplifting knowledge of the shastras. Okay, so this is very important to understand. And this verse today gives us the ability to see the importance of Krishna consciousness, and the desire to actually be Krishna conscious is our ticket out of the material world. So this is further explained by Prabhupada. He says in the Civilization and Transcendence on page 38, there's a question. It is, why do the Mayavadi Vedantists read only one commentary? What is the reason for that? So what is that one commentary? That is the Sarirak Bhasya of Sankaracharya. So why is it they only read that one commentary when there's other Bhasyas, there's other commentaries on Vedanta Sutra written by Vaishnava acharyas like Madhavacharya, and also Ramanujacharya, and also Krishna, who was that? Anyway, I'll think of it in a minute. So why don't they read these other, bhasyas? Well, Prabhupada says the reason is that they want to read something that will confirm their illusion that they are God. So Prabhupada answers it right away. And he says, the Mayavadi Vedantists cheat. Suppose I present some proposition. If it is a misconception, generally there are others also who can say something to clarify this misconception. For instance, in a court of law, there are two lawyers. One lawyer is speaking on one point of the law. The other lawyer is speaking on another point of the law. But if the judge listens to one side only, then how will he make a proper judgment? Similarly, the Vedantists are simply reading the Sarirak Bhasya. They are not reading other Bhasyas or other commentaries, such as the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary. And they are cheating people, that's all. So Vyasadeva, who wrote the Vedanta Sutra, also wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. The Mayavadis don't read that. They don't want to read it. They only want to read something that's going to validate their illusion that they can become God. So now the Vedanta Sutra says, Janma Dasayata. The absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. But this needs some explanation. One may ask, is that absolute truth personal or impersonal? Okay, so you see, Janmadasya means the supreme absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. Now, you can very correctly ask a question. Is that source of everything a person, or is it impersonal? Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly says, Aham sarvasya prabhava, not matak sarvam pravartate. I am the source of everything material and spiritual. And those who know this surrender unto me and engage in my devotional service. So he's answering that question. Is it personal or impersonal? It's definitely personal. I am the origin of everything. Everything comes from me. So why don't the Mayavadi Vedantists accept this? Why do they simply remain stuck at the point that the absolute truth is that from which everything emanates? Why don't they find out whether it's a person or if it's impersonal? when Krishna, the Absolute Truth, comes before you and says, I am the origin of everything, everything comes from me, why don't you accept Krishna as the Absolute Truth? Why do you take the impersonalist view only, that the Absolute Truth has no form? Here is the Absolute Truth speaking, a person. Why don't you take it? Of course, if people want to be cheated, then who can stop them? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Vedanta Krit Eva Chaham. I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedanta, and I am the goal of the Vedanta. So why do these rascals not consider who compiled the Vedanta? Vyasadeva is the incarnation of Krishna. He compiled Vedanta. Why do these rascals not consider the original Vedantas, Krishna himself? They approach a Mayavadi instead. So how will they understand Vedanta? Suppose I have written a book. If you cannot understand something in it, then you should come directly to me for an explanation. That is sensible. So, Vyasadeva wrote the Vedanta Sutra, and then he wrote the natural commentary of it called Srimad Bhagavatam. Why don't they go to that, Bhasya, Srimad Bhagavatam? No, they go to Sarirak Bhasya because they want something to validate their illusion that they are God. Suppose I have written a book. If you cannot understand something in it, then you should come directly to me for an explanation. That is sensible. Why go to a rascal who has nothing to do with my book? Similarly, some rascal Mayavadi may claim, I am a Vedantist, but why should I go to a rascal instead of the real compiler of the Vedanta Sutra, who is Vyasadeva, a incarnation of Krishna? Those who approach the Mayavadi Vedantas for knowledge are also rascals. So, the people that go to the Mayavadis to learn about Vedanta, they're also rascals. They are willingly being cheated. In other words, they want to be cheated. They're willingly being cheated. Let the Mayavadi Vedantas and their followers accept the conclusions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Then they will understand Vedanta Sutra. They'll be real Vedantas. Otherwise, they will remain cheaters. So if you go to a cheater, you'll be cheated, and that is your business. So then the devotee asks the question of Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, are you saying that the Mayavadis have no knowledge at all? Prabhupada. Once again, Vedanta means the ultimate knowledge. Veda Anta. Veda means the Vedas. Anta means the finality of the Vedas, the conclusion of all thoughts about the Vedas. And Prabhupada says, and what is that knowledge? Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Bahunam janmanamante gyanavamam prapadyante vasudeva saramiti samahatma sudurlabhaha. After many births of speculation, one who is actually in knowledge at last surrenders unto me. So unless one surrenders to Krishna, there's no jnana, there's no knowledge. So the Mayavadis never surrender to Krishna. They think they become Krishna, or they become the Absolute. So how can they surrender to Krishna? So they are doing something impossible. They're doing something impossible to achieve in the way they're doing it. Prabhupada says, therefore, the Mayavadi Vedantas are all nonsense. They have no knowledge at all. So the question was, Prabhupada, are you saying that the Mayavadis have no knowledge? And now he's saying, yes, they're complete nonsense. They have no knowledge at all. Because anything that they call knowledge is actually a misconception. It's false. So how can you say they have knowledge? Vedanta is Krishna, God. Veda Anta. Veda means knowledge, and Anta means the finality of all knowledge, or the conclusion of all knowledge. That's Krishna. Because he says, in Sarvashitam Hridiv Sanivisto Matak Smriti Gyanam Apahanam Cha Vedaishcha Sarvir Aham Eva Vedya. And I am to be known through all the Vedas, and I am the goal of the Vedas. Knowledge of me is the goal of the Vedas, Vedic knowledge, or a Vedantist is not a Vedantist unless they come to the point of surrendering completely to me, as Krishna says. So, if one does not know who God is, who Krishna is, and if one does not surrender to him, then where is the question of knowledge? But if a rascal claims that I am a man of knowledge, what can be done? He's making a false statement. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna goes on to explain, Vasudeva Saramiti Samahatma Sadurlabhaha. When one understands that Vasudeva, Krishna, is everything, then that is knowledge. But such a Mahatma is very rare. Before coming, so in other words, it's a rare thing for someone to completely accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a rare thing. Most people don't. But such a Mahatma is very rare. Before coming to this understanding, one has no knowledge. His so-called understanding is simply misunderstanding. Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabhyate. One may begin with understanding impersonal Brahman by the speculative method. Then, in the secondary stage, one can understand the Paramatma, the Lord's localized aspect. And the final stage is to understand this, you'll come gradually to that understanding that Krishna is the knower of everything. So, Krishna is to be known. That is the ultimate knowledge. But if you do not understand Krishna, then where is your knowledge? Halfway knowledge is not knowledge. It must be complete knowledge. That complete knowledge is possible, as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahonam Janmanamante, after many, many births and deaths. Those who are striving to acquire knowledge after many, many births, when actually by the grace of God and by the grace of a devotee, they come to knowledge, then such persons are great. Oh, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Krishna is everything for us. Samahatma Sadrulabha, that Mahatma, that rare soul, is a great soul and is very rarely to be found. Durlabha means very great, fond, but the word used is Sudurlabha, very, very rarely to be found. So you cannot easily find such a Mahatma who clearly understands Krishna. That's who Prabhupada is. He's a very rare person. And not only he understands Krishna, but he's explained who Krishna is in all his books. And they're tremendous, wonderful books, all explaining about Krishna. So that should be our goal, to take, like the demigods, to take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, and then we will have knowledge and renunciation and everything to be happy and go back to Godhead. Hari Bol. So therefore, Tesam Jnani Nitya Yukta. Of these four types of people that come to the Lord, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. So this is what we should strive for, to have pure love and devotion for Krishna and show it by practical devotional service. Okay, we'll stop there. Are there any questions? No questions. Okay. Then we'll have Guru Puja, Hari Bol. What time is it now? 7? Good. 7 what?
Yeah, 7:03.
Yeah, good.
Maharaj, what was the verse number for this Haituki?
1, 2, 6. No, 6.
Here also it is reference in our purpose.
Oh, okay.
In our purpose, the last word is ahimtukam.
No, Savai Pumsa Parodharma Yatabak Ahaitukiya pratihata. That's 6. 1, 1, 2, 6.
Oh, okay, sorry. But here also, Maharaj, in this, I don't know if it is same.
Where?
One
Where's?
point, the purport we read in today's.
Yeah, that's 1.2.7.
Yeah, the
But
last word is ahim to come. Is different than what?
yeah, so
Is it the same?
1 second, 1 second.
I mean, you are right that 1.2.6. So
Oh, it says I hate to come.
yeah, the last word.
Yeah, so yeah, it's the same word.
Oh, it's the same.
But the Ahaitukiya pratihata means it's from the previous verse. Yeah. So those two verses explain everything about the goal of life.
Because I think I was thinking about this. Then today's class actually just answered a lot of my questions. What I was thinking. I mean, just knowing Krishna is.
Speaking of microphone.
I mean, this is not a question, but just
Yeah, a comment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
sharing. That I was thinking about something like just knowing is not
Just
enough.
having what?
Just knowing that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead is not
It's
enough.
not enough.
It is not enough, right?
It's good, but it's not enough.
It's not enough, yeah.
You have to actually develop loving devotion for the Lord.
Yeah.
And there's two, let's say, conditions of it. It must be a haituki without any material purpose, and haituki a pratihata without any interruption. In other words, full-time service. So, you can be married and working and still be a haituki, a pratihata, because your purpose is to please Krishna and you have love for Krishna. So you're always coming to Krishna every day in one way or another to express your love and devotion for the Lord. So you can do it from any position. But obviously, there are 4, let's say, stages of life. There's, you would go brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So, therefore, in every one of those positions, you can be connected to Krishna. And it can be uninterrupted and without any material purpose. It's simply to serve the Lord with love and devotion. So that's the perfection of human life. So anything that takes you away from that is Maya. Okay. So this is a very great book, this Civilization and Transcendence. It's short, but it's full of tremendous information. It's only, 70, maybe 80 pages. Yeah, it's 80 pages. So Prabhupada says, real life is to learn how to love God. There it is. Real life. So this is what Lord Chaitanya came to demonstrate, how to love Krishna. Well, he's Krishna himself, so he knows what to do. So he assumed the glow of Srimati Radharani because she loves Krishna absolutely, completely. So he demonstrated how to love Krishna. So that's the difference between mundane religion and transcendental religion. Mundane religion, they don't really have this transcendental, enthusiastic love for God. They're doing things, but usually it's all about, I need this, I need that, please God, give me this, give me that. Or I'm very miserable, please get rid of my misery. But Krishna consciousness is full of happiness and transcendental bliss. because one is always expressing their love for Krishna through regulated devotional service. And so that's a different thing than, I need this, I need that. Oh, I'm suffering. Please help me. They don't have any ecstasy. Everything's about, life is difficult. There's this problem, there's that problem. Help me.
So Maharaj, is there any hierarchy in the love also? For example, we have different rasas.
No, there are different rasas. There's neutrality.
Yeah.
There's
Shanta ras,
servitorship. There's friendship.
Yeah.
There's parental and there's conjugal.
So the conjugal love is supposed to be like at the
conjugal
topmost.
Encompasses. It has all the others.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus the very intimate relationship with Krishna. Yeah.
But then conjugal love. So everybody, we say that love to Krishna means which form? So I know at the same time we say that we can
have those
Sakya rasa, we can be a friend.
You have those different stages of intensity of love. And conjugal is the most intense. Yeah. Or let's say it's sweet, sweeter, sweetest. So different levels of sweetness in the relationship. And conjugal is the sweetest. So the most intense feelings of love.
Is it the conjugal love is always in the opposite this thing, or it's not?
Don't get mixed up by the word conjugal. It doesn't mean mundane sex. It means that two people love each other completely. Right? There's no sex involved. There's this excitement of seeing or not seeing the lover. Both are ecstatic. And in fact, by not seeing the lover, the love increases even more than actually seeing the beloved. Yeah, so you just have to study the life of Lord Chaitanya. You'll see, it's all, everything he did is an expression of love and devotion for Krishna. Okay, so then we can begin. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Nitagora Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bola. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Bandomu Savadhanama Te Bandomu Savadhanama Te Bandomu Savadhanama Te. Janara Prasade Bhai Hevavatoriya Jaye. Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoide. Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoide. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Koriya Kya. Arana Koriya Maneya Sa. Arana Koriya Maneya Sa. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati. Ye prasade pure sarva asa. Ye prasade pure sarva asa. Chakshudan dilaje janme janme Prabhu se. Divya gyan nidhi pokasito. Prema bhakti jahate advidya vinasahajate. Vedegaya janara charito. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhana Janara Bandhu. Lokanad Lokera Jivana. Ha Prabhu Kuradaya Deha More Padachaya. Velebeyas Kusukti Bhuvana. Ha Prabhu Kuradaya Deha More Padachaya. Ha Prabhu Kuradaya Deha More Padachaya. Ebe Asakasukti Bhuvana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Jolo Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajagachah Statara Satarishi Shishimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to assembled, all glories assembled, all glories assembled devotees, all glories to Shiguru and Shiguranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, we can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The big scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur